Hey, it's Sutonia here. I just thought I'd do a quick video on a website called Eve Overmind, which is really interesting and can be very useful for new players. Eve Overmind essentially stores killboard data and presents it in a really interesting way. One thing that's really cool about this site is the fact that it uses a system called challenge ratio points, which essentially is like a much more refined point system that you might see from other killboards, which tracks how much risk a player is willing to take by what they engage and how much a ship trades up against other ships in terms of power and value. So if you want to learn more about it, I recommend you check out the FAQ section on their website. Eve Overmind works really well in the in-game browser, and you can even get an in-game link to set up on certain parts of the website, which is really useful. The only function that doesn't work so well in the in-game browser is the ship fit analysis, although I find that rather clunky in the first place, and I don't think it's too useful. It's really hard to filter out the junk data in there. Anyway, to get into the features I think you will find really useful is the 1v1 analysis. Now this is really useful because it shows you how likely you are to win a 1v1 in a certain ship against another ship, statistically speaking. So if we jump in here and we pick up a Kestrel from the list, you'll see here that this is a ship, and this is the ship that I chose, and then you'll see the kill percentage here. This goes through all the killboard data from ZKillboard. It's all stored into this onto this website, and it basically looks at every single 1v1 that happened. So, for example, this 98%. This is the sample size here means that there was 104 kills where a Velator or a Kestrel killed each other in a 1v1, and this is the percentage chance that the Kestrel has to win that fight. So, in this case, for example, judging by the sample size, you can see here that maybe 2 Kestrels died to a Velator somehow, and a Kestrel killed like 99 Velators, essentially. So this is really useful because it tells you how likely you are to win a fight against a certain ship. So if you're wondering, there's a crow here, how likely am I going to be able to kill that crow in my Kestrel? And it turns out, well, it's about 70% the chance. You have about 70% chance to kill a crow, which is of course true. A Kestrel is always going to kill a crow at 0 unless the Kestrel has a really weird fit. You need to be careful with some things that have a low sample size. For example, this endurance here against the Kestrel is a 50% chance, but there's only been 2 1v1s between a Kestrel and endurance. And obviously a Kestrel won one and the endurance won the other. And it's super useful because you can see here like Atron 49%, Merlin for 49%. One thing you need to be, again, there is some junk data in here and it also doesn't take into account the environment as well. So for example, in low sec, a Kestrel is a lot weaker than a Kestrel in null sec, because in low sec you're often forced to fight people who are using afterburners, which mitigate a lot of rocket DPS. And you can't really use rage reliably in low sec, and also a lot of other ships get a bit stronger when they have more fitting space, when they can use afterburners, they have more cap, they have more fitting space to use stronger fits. So but it's super useful. And again, most of this is true. You can see here for example, Tyrannus, dual pop Tyrannus is a really hard counter to Kestrel, and as you can see, it's a pretty low percentage chance to win, 29%. Tormenta is interesting. I think there is a large sample size too. I think this is mostly from factional warfare, where in nullsec, Tormenta versus Kestrel can win, but it's a really close fight. And assuming a max skill Tormenta with a decent fit versus the Kestrel fit that I use, it's a really close fight. But in low sec, when Tormenta can get away with beams really easily, you're definitely not going to be able to kill that in a Kestrel, even if you were able to use rage, assuming that the dude was at 0 MS the whole fight. So yeah, this is really useful, and you can see here that Kestrel doesn't trade very favorably with a breacher either, so you might want to avoid that one. But anyway, this is super useful for just seeing what percentage chance you have to win, statistically speaking. Just bear in mind the sample size, because some things are really weird. The other thing that's super useful here is the veteran kills. You can select a class of ship if you want, or you can also select a ship type, like on the 1v1 analysis. And to show you this, I'm going to pick a Kestrel once again. So this thing is really useful, finding a good ship. Like for example, if you wanted a good Kestrel fit, right? So sorting by aggression is normally the best thing. Be aware that there are some funky things in here, because for example, again, this is not taking the environment into perspective, and because logistics and links and stuff like that are not on kill boards. It's really weird. So you can see this guy had 42 kills in this particular Kestrel before he died, but I mean, this is not a good fit. And as it turns out, if you click on here, you'll find out that this Kestrel was used in high sec, in RVB, why he got like so many kills before dying. But anyway, this is really useful. So, for example, in the in-game, you can just click here, ship fitting, and there you go, ship fitting is here. It turns out this one is actually shark prints, by the way. This is when I actually killed 3 sabers before I died, which is why I've got such a high value here. This aggression, this means total kill CRP. This is the challenge ratio points thing that I was talking about earlier. Like if you kill a lot of stuff that's bigger than you or more powerful than you, then you get more of these points. And obviously if you're ganking more, like if you're killing shuttles, noob ships and stuff, you don't get as many. So finding a high value here, but a low killing streak is normally where you're going to find good fits. You can also just, you know, click on a lot of them. So for example, you can see here that this is the same fit, right? You have to close it, but you can see here that this is all the same fit. So you can see here, you know, this is a really competitive, good Kestrel fit. You should probably use this. A lot of these are actually shark prints, which is kind of funny. You can also see the kill on Z-Killbot as well. So I think that this was shark prints. He died. It opens up a new tab in your browser. It's really useful. So for example, I have no idea how I would fit a Cinnaball. I haven't really gone over any any like Cinnaball fits. So what you could do is, if you wanted to fly that ship, you could click here on the Cinnaball, and then you can see here you want, again, sorting by aggression. The default one is normally the best thing to do. This risk-taking thing is also like average kill CRP per kill. It can be a bit funky sometimes, although it's normally the higher the value is better on here. So again, you can jump on a Cinnaball fit here. You can see the killing streak too. You know, this looks like a pretty reasonable Cinnaball fit. I mean, I don't like the lack of damage on this particular fit, but I mean it looks in the right place. And for example, you can click on these and just judge for yourself. You can see, okay, yeah, you know, this sort of style of fit looks pretty good, right? Like that's the best Cinnaball fit. Yeah, they are a bit different, of course, but you know, this generally tells you, you know, I want a utility newt in the high. I want these autocannons. I want some stuff to increase my fall off. I want some damage mods, and then I want disruptor and then tank. You know, that's really good. That's really useful. Again, going back to the 1v1 analysis, actually, there's something also that I wanted to mention. Is, for example, let's say there's a Cinnaball that's in your space, so you want to kill some dude in a Cinnaball, right? One thing that's really cool is you can sort of use this 1v1 analysis in a reverse way. Like if you sort by kill percentage and reverse it, you can see here, if you wanted to kill a Cinnaball and you were solo, you could say, okay, well, Armageddon, there's been 20 1v1s between Armageddon and Cinnaball, and well, the Armageddon has won 19 of those 20 because it's a 5%. You can also do a Typhoon. Again, these sample sizes are kind of low, but again, the bigger ships you get, the less likely there is to be a 1v1 between those ships. Especially true for like the more expensive ships too. But this gives you a good idea. Armageddon, Typhoon, British Navy. You know, these are good ships that would be good against a Cinnaball if you wanted to 1v1 one. So it looks like that, like two. Another cool thing here is the Combat Recon thing. Now, it says it's called Combat Recon, but it's actually much more than that. So for them to demonstrate this, I'm just going to copy and paste, you know, local. This is a high 6 system, but it doesn't really matter too much. And what's cool is it will tell you their recent ships, you know, what percentage chance they are in each of these ships. So this is really useful if you don't know what some guy's in. He just jumped in, you know, you can see what he's probably most likely to be flying. You can also see here the Sino count. So this dude here, he uses a Loki, a Tengu, and a Stalk a lot, and he has a lot of Sinos. So I mean, you probably want to avoid this dude because he's probably going to Sino a thing on you. And you can see that you can just see what people are going to fly. Like you can also look at risk taking as well. So in this high 6 system, apparently I'm the biggest risk taker here. I think I have the highest aggression value too. But you can see here that this dude here is also really aggressive. This can be really useful for telling you if someone's like a blobber or not. Like for example, if you go to the bottom of the list, these are Care Bears, so they're probably just not all like trading also something, so they're probably not here. But you can see here these dudes on the bottom. It means that they have a lower CRP challenge ratio points, which means either they're killing stuff that's much weaker than the ships that they're using, or that there's like tons of people on their kill mails, which is, you know, most of these guys are in goon swarms, so it's pretty obvious that they're most likely going to be people who are deployed or doctrine and take part in bigger fleet battles. So if you encounter one of these guys, you know that they're more likely to blob you, for example. It's a good way of seeing like who's actually solo or not as well. You can also see like their kill count as well. You can also see the percentage solo kills too. Again, that's super useful. So you can see who's going to fight you solo, who's again most likely to blob you. So this is super useful. Don't just because it's just because it says Combat Recon, it is much more than that. So definitely check this part out of the site as well. You can also I believe you can also replay this as well, so you can link this to someone else. If you're in fleet with someone, you can, you know, link. You're probably better off using a D-scan tool, but you could link this to like someone else, and then they can see everyone else who's in local and, you know, what ships they're probably flying. So that's also super useful. The other thing on here, there's this top killers thing. This can be pretty clunky, but for example, if you take all-time aggression leaderboard, this basically shows you all the people super guys. Again, this mostly shows you due to use links or suicide gank a lot, at least on the 30-day aggression kill board. Same with here as well. I find that the all-time risk takers and 30-day risk takers is much more useful. Sharkrins is actually on here, which is my Kestrel character. This shows you like the average risk taking that this person's willing to take, and it's a good way to find fits. So, for example, this there are some things that are clunky in there too, though, because there's like a guy who only flies a Gnosis with like 4 Guardian orbs that's on there, for example, on like linked dudes as well. But for example, you can see here this dude flies an Executioner lot in factional warfare. I don't know if he's linked or not. I assume he probably isn't. But this is a good way of finding out some good fits for some of this dude. He's killed a lot of stuff that's much bigger than him with his Executioner, and he takes a lot of risks. He also flies a Coercer too, so, you know, if you wanted like a decent Coercer fit or a decent Executioner fit, this looks like a really solid fit. This would be like a good guy to follow, and, you know, you can take a look at his fits if you wanted to. That sort of stuff is really useful. And again, if you want a specific ship, you can always take a look at the veteran kills. Ship fit analysis is I think it only really works out of game. It's really clunky. It also has like a bunch of weird stuff in it too, from like dust. So like going through this list is pretty annoying. This works a lot better out of game, but again, it's still really clunky. It takes a while to load. Anyway, it shows you like a bunch of fits. As you can tell, like a lot of these are really weird and clunky, and they don't really work too well. It's really hard, I think, to sift through this data. But this is the most popular fit, for example, apparently. And again, these are like super clunky. So like this ship analysis thing, it doesn't really work too well. It does work a lot better in the out of game thing. Again, I recommend you use this veteran kills thing if you want to find a specific ship for a certain specific fit for a certain ship. It's much more useful. Anyway, I found this website was really useful. I don't think a lot of people really know about it, which is why I wanted to do a video about it, because it does have a really awesome statistics. It's really cool. Definitely check out this website, EveOvermind.com. I'll put a link in the description too. Anyway, thanks for watching this video.